Welcome back to Breaking Down Storage Tech. Today we're breaking down a filtered 6x loader by acaciachan. So let's get straight into it. So a loader means that it basically loads a shulker box with a item or many items or different items depending on the thing, but this is a filtered loader, so it'll only fill the shulker box with one type of item that you choose through the filters right here. And 6x basically refers to the speed, so it'll fill in the shulker box that's in right here at 6 times hopper speed, which is just the unit of measurement we use because everything in storage tech is based around the almighty hopper. So this system uses SS3 or impulse style filters or signal strength 3. It has many names, but impulse style or SS3. And what that basically means is that it has 3 redstone dust right here, and it uses the final signal strength of 3 to get from this comparator to power this redstone dust to activate the hopper unlocking to start filtering. So how that actually works is your item will be zooming across this ice. It can be blue ice, packed ice, whatever you choose, and it will be zooming across, and it will be aligned using an amethyst geode or whatever you choose to be over these hoppers just about so it can get picked up by the hopper. And how this only picks up items is because it can only stack this, and you have your filter items, which you should never let get in, or never let them get into your system. So what happens is it'll stack onto here, and it will give a larger comparator signal because this is 45 right here is specifically calibrated to only power to here, so it doesn't power this. So as soon as a single more item gets in here, it powers over to this redstone dust. Now what'll happen then is it'll power this redstone dust, which will unpower this redstone torch, which does the actual shulker loading bit, but the signal that goes to here, because it'll power this, which will power this block, powering this repeater right here, is how the system actually works. So it'll unpower this redstone torch, which will unpower this block right here and this hopper right here. By unpowering this block, it also allows this hopper right here to also unlock. So what that basically means is that this hopper will start pulling out items like crazy, and at the same time this hopper will also be unlocked, so it'll start pushing out items as well as getting pulled out. So this creates a space in the thing, or in the hopper, so items from up here will start getting pulled. And how this gets double speed is because this hopper is getting pulled out from at 2 times hopper speed, because there's 1 hopper speed coming down because this hopper is pulling from this hopper continuously, so it's 1 hopper speed there, and the second hopper speed comes from this hopper trying to push its items into this dropper right here. So it basically the summation of each of these two, so going 1 and then 2. Now this goes straight into this dropper right here, and the other set of hopper speed items goes into this dropper, which immediately gets pulled into this dropper, pulled into this hopper, and pushed into this dropper right here. Now you might say, wow, that's a lot of work just to get from all the way up here to here, but because it's taking 2 alternate routes, it allows for the double speed to take place, so that way this dropper gets items at double hopper speed, and because it's a dropper and it's not capped by hopper speed, we can actually power it at 2 times hopper speed through the use of a clock right here. So that's how we get into this section. What will happen here is this redstone torch will unpower, which will cause this note block right here to unpower, which will send a signal to this, or this observer will detect that it's no longer powered, so it'll power this block, powering this note block, powering this observer right here, powering this block, which also powers this note block again, starting a whole loop right here. And this is a redstone clock, and you can see this actually in action if I break this, and you can see it's just continuously going through here. But what it also does through the loop is you also hijack the signal when it powers this block to power this note block right here, which gets observed by this observer right here, powering this block, which powers both this block and this note block, which will cause both these droppers to get power. So you got the dropper up here and the dropper down here. Now this is the case for this half or this slice as well as the other slice, but not the middle slice. The middle slice does not have this middle bit because it just directly inputs. And this is where the 6 times hopper speed comes. So if I actually turn on carpet creates no clip, forgot to turn to true. So I'm going to turn on true so I can actually just clip through here. Really useful command, especially when breaking down intricate pieces of redstone. You can see you have the shulker box in right here. And what happens here is it gets a 2 times hopper speed from each one of these slices, because this dropper is pushing into this from this left side right here. On the opposite side, the same thing is happening, just on the mirror image of it. So it pushes into this side, and then it's getting an input directly from the top right here. And actually, if I break this, you'll be able to see you have one here, one here, one here. And we'll talk about these two in just a second. So that's how it gets the 6x speed. It's actually 2x hopper speed, 2 times hopper speed loaders going into one shulker box. So it becomes 6 times hopper speed through simple addition. And that is basically how the shulker box gets loaded. Now, what happens when the shulker box gets loaded, it takes a comparator output, and this comparator output goes powering this block right here, powering this block, which powers this redstone wire right here. And we can actually see that if I just take an item right here and I fill it right up to the top right here. Oop, that was too much filling. So I go here and I fill this all the way, but not enough, just so that you can still see what happens. Ignore all of that. So basically you can see right here that there's a redstone output of 14 because this is filled up all the way until the last until the last slot. So it gets a signal strength of 14. Now you'll see a bunch of confusing redstone parts, but that's actually not the case. So breaking down exactly what all of these individual components do, starting with this redstone wire right here. So this comparator right here is in compare mode. So it's essentially comparing this signal right here from the rear to this signal coming from the side, and this is just a signal strength of 15 coming immediately from this redstone block. So what a comparator does in compare mode is if there's a signal strength coming from the side that's greater than the one coming from the rear, it doesn't output anything. But if they're equal, it'll output a signal, or if this signal strength is greater. So what that basically means is when this system gets a fully loaded shulker box, this will go to signal strength 15, and this comparator right here, which is in compare mode, will power. This will power all 3 of these note blocks right here, causing a signal to go all the way up into these 3 blocks right here, powering and going through the previous chain that we talked about, and powering all of these droppers right here. Now you may ask, why are we powering all of these droppers right here? This is essentially to lock the system. So that way, even if items are coming in right here, it locks this clock from pulsing a bunch of times. So while the shulker is in its breaking cycle, a bunch of items don't go flying everywhere and interrupt any hopper lines or do anything like that, or we get any amount of item loss, because that is not what storage tech's about. So the second piece is this comparator right here. This comparator is in subtract mode. What this does is it takes away this signal from the left from the signal coming in from the right. So 15 minus 14 is still 1, so it gets a signal, so it's powering this repeater right here, so it keeps this observer extended right here, which conveniently lines up with this, but it doesn't really mean that much. So what happens when this reaches a signal strength of 15 means that 15 minus 15 is 0, so this goes to no longer outputting any power, so this repeater unpowers, and it unpowers the sticky piston, bringing back this observer. What this observer will do then is it will detect, hey, I'm getting a block, or I've been moved, so it's detect something, so it'll send an output. It'll output this dropper right here, this dispenser right here, or yeah, this dispenser and this piston. So what'll happen is it'll pulse this piston right here, breaking it, or breaking the shulker box, pushing it over into this slice right under this comparator where you have a hopper right here. And since it pushes it, it'll break it, and at the same time it'll move right here, so it'll power this dropper and this dispenser, so it'll shoot up a dispenser where it was, and at the same time it'll shoot a shulker box back into this dispenser. Or sorry, the correct timings of that would be it shoots a dropper into the dispenser and then uses the dispenser dispenses the shulker box into the spot so it can begin to get loaded again. And right here you have your hopper right here. This is just where your shulker line would be, so you could run this, especially if you have quite a few of these, you could just have a really long hopper or shulker line, and this is where all your shulker boxes would be. And this thing eats through shulker boxes if you're going through it at full speed, so I would have them readily available. Now, what I think this system does that is super smart is what it does is, if we have our box right here, it keeps one box technically, or okay, let me rephrase. So basically, when there's no items in here, let me take all of these out. When there's no items in here, this box, or imagine this cycle just broke. So this is a new shulker box, no items, no output, and this shulker box is staying right here. You're saying, how does this shulker box gets spat out. There's no obvious signal. But what this system does that is so very clever, in my opinion, is it uses the idea that, oh, okay, well, since this is a 6x loader and you're going to be using this to load a bunch of items and they're going to be a continuous stream, especially since you just broke a box, well, we're going to expect more items to come in. And what happens then is more items come into this shulker box through the previous system. The comparator will read this out and power this redstone dust, which will actually power this concrete right here, powering this dropper to shoot out the shulker box. So I think that's just a very resourceful use of the signal. And this little piece right here is just so cool. So what this actually looks like, I'm going to break this down into two main parts. We're going to have the top section right here, where it's loading the shulker box, and then we're going to have the actual box breaking signals and stuff like that. So I'm just going to slow the game down just a tad, just to here should be fine. So I'm going to simulate, okay, a bunch of items just got placed. I'm just going to put them in here, here, and you can see the signals fire, the clocks are running, you can see here, and you can see through here, they're getting shot, and you can see them just ever so slightly get a double. I mean, it ran out, but if I just put more items here, you'll see it go to double and then get spat out because of the clock going through here. And the system ran because of the previous shulker box I left in, but you'll see this is getting loaded up. Or let me do this one more time. 1, 2, 3. Go back into here. You can see how fast this is getting loaded, and this is at half game speed. So if you can imagine this at full game speed right here. Oh, it ran out again. This is here. See, look how quickly that goes. So imagine it, and if you have even more farms, you could even add more of these in parallel, because this is a tileable system. So the last thing to break down is the shulker box breaking. So I'm going to just load up this shulker box right here. I'm going to take this out and go right here. So I'm actually going to take 3. I'm going to freeze the game, put this in here, and nope, commands are difficult. Here, you'll see it's unpowered here, and then you'll see, you can note right here that the box is still in here. So if we hypothetically in our scenario, oh, we're getting even more glass right here, I'm going to put this here, you'll see the dust powered already, and it shot out the thing right, or the shulker box again, right here. So yeah, and you can see you got your 2 full loaded shulker boxes. So overall, really great system. It's very much a hopper locked system. Like the main hoppers used are these 2 right here, and those are locked. And so these hoppers right here and these ones also really easily locked. Or these ones might actually, no, it would actually be really easy to lock, because you could power these hoppers through that ice right here, and these ones you could just run a regular line. And so you could just have it turn on whenever you have your system turned on, and the shulker line, you could just do some regular hopper locking for your shulker line. So overall, really easily to hopper lock, and a really great system. I think this part right here really shows the power of the comparator, because you have actually on display all 3 uses of a comparator, or main uses. You have the readout of items, you have the compare mode, and you have the subtract mode of the comparator. So this is a kind of a comparator masterclass. But overall, really, really great system, very compact and very quiet for the most of things. So yeah, thank you for watching.